Hi there everyone, it's Miss Champlin here. So here is a specific problem that is focusing on simple interest. Now, I made another video that's talking about simple interest versus compound interest, and that kind of just explains the idea of interest and how it's used in real life. It's very basic. I try to do it quickly for you, so I highly recommend you take I think it's like 12 or 13 minutes long, to take that time to watch that video just to kind of understand what you're doing. But here I'm going to teach you a formula that you can use for simple interest. I'm going to start out by showing you in the table what it looks like as you earn interest over time. So in this scenario, I'm going to be putting $500 into a bank that earns 10% in simple interest. That's a very high interest amount, okay? But I will be earning 10% simple interest. What will my bank balance be in 4 years? So I can assume here that my time is in years. So I'm going to put T, that is my time. I highly recommend you guys write this problem down and label everything just like I'm labeling, so you have it for notes for your Google Form assignment this week, your Illuminate quiz for this week, and for the Illuminate final that you're going to have next week. I believe it'll open on June 2nd, okay? So definitely write this down, okay? It's a short problem. Go ahead and write it down. So we know we're working with simple interest. Let's label a few more things. So the $500 is my starting amount. We call that P for principal. And this is always your starting amount. Okay? That's how much you're putting in at first, or how much you're borrowing initially, etc. And then we also have this 10%. We call that R for your rate. One important thing is to always convert to decimal. So as soon as you see your rate, I want you to write down that it is your R. Okay, so I know R equals 10%. And this is really 10 out of 100 because it's always out of 100%. Okay, 10 divided by 100 is really 0.01. No, I'm a super big liar. I'm tired. It's 0.1. 1. So it would be 10 hundredths. Okay, 1/10 or 10 hundredths. Sorry. Miss Champlin's tired. Okay, so it would be 0.10. Because if I have a 10, anything whenever you divide by 100, basically my original decimal was right there for 10, right? It's a whole 10, it'd be 10.0 or 10.0, right? To divide something by 100, you just move that decimal to the left 2 times. So now here's your new decimal. So it would look just like this. So your rate is 0.1, okay, or 0.10, that's fine. All right, so that's your rate. So here's how this would look in a table. So if I wanted to see, okay, I want to show in my table, I'm going to have my X's is in years, so that's my time. And my Y is my bank balance. So it's just my balance, how much money I have in the bank. All right, you always start out year 0, right? You're not born and then say, oh, yay, so-and-so's 1 year old, right? No, whenever you're born, whenever your life starts, right? I mean, don't argue the state being in your tummy. Yes, they're alive, at a certain point in their stomach, whatever, right? But I'm saying, like, once you're born, right? Start of your life on this earth without your mother, you are 0 years old, okay? 0. Same thing with depositing money into a bank. So at 0 years old, you have $500 in the bank, or I have $500. All right, so that is always your starting point. All right, and then I want it for 4 years. So I drew a little bit too much there, but that's okay. All right, so I need up to 4 years worth of balance. So let's see how this works here. So your rate is 0.1. All right, so I'm going to be using this rate over here. what I'm going to do is to determine how much I need to add, I am going to add my rate times my principal every single time. So I'm adding 10% of 500. In order to get 10% of 500, I multiply 0.1 times 500. And that will be $50. So every single year, I am earning $50 in my bank. This is simple interest, so I'm adding that every single year. So for year 1, I have $550. Year 2, I'm going to have $600. So I'm adding 50 every single time, right? Year 3, $650. Year 4, $700. So I can say that my bank balance in 4 years will be $700. Okay. Now, if you were asked, what's your bank balance in 20 years? You're going to be like, what? I have to make a table that has 20 rows in it? No, you don't. Okay. So there is a way, there is a formula for you to calculate the simple interest. So the formula for the interest, I for interest, okay, this is interest. And again, this formula is for interest. So it's not the total balance, it's just going to be how much interest you earn. What you do to find the interest is you're going to multiply the principal times your rate times the time, how much time you're being asked. So this is why I made note of all of these pieces here. So I said your rate is 10%, right, or 0.1. Your principal is $500. It's how much you put into the bank. Your time is 4 years. So the interest that I will earn after 4 years is equal to my principal, $500, times my rate as a decimal, 0.1, times the time, 4 years. Okay, so you can go ahead and calculate that in your calculator. Your interest, you do 500 times 0.1 times 4. Whenever you multiply this, you get 200. That's not done yet, right? I know I should have $700, right? Not only 200, but you notice 200 plus the principal is $700. So to get the total balance, I need to add my principal, P, plus my interest, I. Okay, so my total balance is going to be 500 plus 200 in interest. So what is my total balance? 500 plus 200 is $700. Okay, so what I highly recommend doing is learning this method here, the formula, and then you add your interest that you get to the principal. Okay, so this would be nice and easy for you to be able to solve for simple interest on your own without having to draw a huge table. If you want to do the table, go for it, right? If that's how your brain sees it, that's fine. But this is another way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and do another example here. Okay, so here we have a slightly different problem. It says if you borrowed $2,500 from the bank, how much would you owe in 3 years if you had to pay 4% simple interest each year? So it's basically asking you how much total would you be paying the bank back overall if you borrowed $2,500 from them and you had to pay 4% simple interest on your principal every year. Okay, so first of all, we need to identify the principal, which is how much we started with. Okay, so you started with borrowing $2,500. That is your principal. All right. How much would you owe in 3 years? That is your time. All right, so 3 years, that's your T. That is your time. Okay, if you had to pay 4% simple interest each year, this is your R. That's your rate. And right away, I want us to rewrite the 4% as a decimal. So you guys either move that decimal to the left. Come on, Dot. There it goes. To the left 2 times. Okay, and then you'd have to add in the 0 there. Or you just divide 4 by 100. 4% out of 100% in your calculator, you would get your decimal 0.04. So that's really safe to do if you're not a pro at moving it left twice. All right, so interest, so this is for simple interest only. You can calculate your interest by multiplying your principal times your rate times your time. Principal times rate times time. It doesn't matter what order it's in, but I just always write I equals PRT. So this is your go-to to calculate the interest. Now, we have to realize that they want to know the total, right? How much would you owe in 3 years in total? Okay, so I want to know the total here. Otherwise, it would say, how much would you owe in interest, right? But overall, in 3 years, if you had to pay 4% simple interest each year, how much would you owe in total? So the total balance that you'd have to owe, you're going to end up adding your principal to the interest amount that you get. Okay, so this is what you have to do second. So let's go ahead and do our first step. So first, to find the interest, we need to multiply the principal times the rate times the time. Once I start setting it up, I always put parentheses around everything. So my principal is the starting amount is $2,500. My rate is in a decimal form, 0.04 or 4 hundredths. My time is 3 years. Okay, so interest here, all you have to do to find the total interest you'd pay overall is multiply 2,500 times 0.04 times 3. Once you multiply that, you should get $300. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time because normally I have students double check my work, but you're all on the other end of this video. Okay, so I calculated again just to double check, and it is indeed $300. That is only my interest. Okay, so this is not my final answer here. This is just my interest. That's it. I need to do step 2. To find the total balance that I will owe the bank after I pay it off in 3 years, my total balance is going to be what I initially borrowed, right? You have to pay that back, what you initially borrowed, plus the interest for inconveniencing them for giving you money, basically is how I see it. Okay, so the total amount, you're basically saying, here's some extra. Thank you for letting me borrow this money at the time I needed it. So you have to pay back the $2,500, and you have to pay interest as a gift to them for letting you borrow that money. So your total amount is going to be $2,500 plus $300. You should get $2,800. Okay, so you would say you would have to pay back $2,800 after 3 years. So like at 3 years exactly. After 3 years. And then if I had more room, I would have said for borrowing $2,500 at 4% simple interest per year. This would be a good way to explain your answer there. Okay, so hopefully this video helped you out. If you have any questions about interest, please refer to your teacher. I do want to show just a few things I was just looking up here. I don't want you guys to get confused. So here's some examples of rates that are not whole numbers. So some rates, you might see one that's 3.5%, and that's okay, all right? You would still move the decimal to the left 2 times to divide it by 100 and rewrite it as a decimal. So then this would be 0.035. I always add a 0 in front of the decimal. If you're like, what? Why do we move it to the left? Well, 3.5% is always out of 100%, right? The total of anything is 100%. So it's going to be 0.035 of whatever you were calculating. So 3.5 divided by 100 is 0.035. So it's okay if you have a decimal. You might even have something like 2.25%, right? That's okay. You would do the same thing. Just divide it by 100 or move the decimal to the left twice. You're going to get 0.0225. And that is your rate. You would be multiplying that within your rate. Don't try to round it or anything crazy like that. That is your entire rate. So you would use it just like that. And from what I see here, it looks like that would be the only level of confusion you might have. There are notes in the Google form as well that just show the interest, okay, the interest formula and how to find the total. You add the interest to the principal. Again, ask your teacher for help, all right? Reach out during this time, and hopefully this video helped you out. Have a great evening or day or morning. Bye-bye.